All right, Jeremy Miner here, coming in from our USA offices. Thank you for being on our podcast, Closers Are Losers. I'm here with my co-host, our own CEO, Matt Ryder, who is actually over in our Sydney, Australia office, but due to recent lockdowns again, is quarantined at his own home, and his internet does not work so well. It's not in the office. Matt, how are you?
Good, man. Just loving the best strategy in the world, which is if it doesn't work the first time, try it again, right?
The lockdowns don't work 5 times in a row. Keep trying it until it doesn't work again.
5 months last year wasn't enough, so apparently we need to do more. But here we are. Anyway.
Keep it going. All right. So enough about that kind of stuff. Let's roll into stuff that's going to help all of you listening. So today, Matt and I wanted to talk to you about a subject that we hear sometimes, not from every client, but sometimes we hear from clients. Because in NEPQ, which stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questions, we teach that your languaging has to be neutral. You have to come in from a point of seeing if you can help the person, seeing if there's a sale to be made in the first place, seeing if you can help them solve their problems, which realistically for most people, most prospects you talk to, you can definitely help them solve their problems. But we already know that. We have to keep that agenda to ourselves. Although we have an agenda to make the sale, we have to keep that to ourselves. And I think a lot of people, and Matt will get into this in a little bit in a second, a lot of people when they come in and they start going through our training, they go through our virtual training courses, they become clients, they think that they have to become so neutral where they just become submissive or something. And nothing could be further from the truth. Matt, what are your thoughts on that? I know you brought that up.
Yeah, I think I probably see it more than you as well because I train we have within our organization, we have the 3 training programs. We have 2.0, 3.0, and historical. And historical is predominantly with you, and 3.0 is predominantly with me. I see some of the guys who are a little bit newer in their sales journey, so it's probably a little bit more of a something that I see. But I think a real big one is people mistake neutrality for submissiveness. Essentially, it's them being very drawn back and leaning out a lot and like just kind of allowing the person to retake control and not wanting to be assertive. And so I think that assertiveness is key. Like you want to kind of dictate a lot of what happens, even if you're dictating it subtly. Yeah. But if you're sitting back there and you're allowing someone to kind of walk all over you, like nobody wants to give money to someone that they can just walk all over, especially if it's, a product or a service or something like that. Like you want to have some confidence in the person that you're buying off. And so maintaining that assertiveness, I think, is key, but without going over the top to where you're like the pushy sales guy.
Although you have an agenda to make the sale, that's what you should have in your mind on every call. You're there to make a sale because you know that if they don't purchase your solution, if they don't go with what you're offering, if they don't get the funding or the money together, the budget together, depending on if you sell B2B or B2C, if they don't do that, what happens? They stay in status quo, problems stay the same, and nothing ever changes. Now, when we say your agendas make the sale, you have to keep that to yourself though. You can't have that like you have commission breath when you talk to them and you're so excited and you're over assertive and you're over assumptive where they just view you as trying to stuff your solution down their throat. That's what Matt is talking about. And so many people have it like one way or the other, where they're so assertive, they're so assumptive, they're so overbearing that they trigger sales resistance, right? Traditional sales training, typically. Or sometimes they'll come into NEPQ and they think they have to go all the way to the opposite end where they're like, be so neutral that they're so boring and so submissive that people just walk all over them. We have to be right there in the middle. That's what I mean by neutral. Not all the way up here, not all the way down here. We're right in the middle. We're neutral. We're there as a more of a trusted expert or trusted authority to see if we can help them. Now, pretty much on every sales call, we know we can help them solve their problems, right? We just have to keep that internally, keep it to ourselves. Over enthusiastic, over excited, but we can't, like Matt said, let them walk all over us where we're like, you want to think it over? Okay. How would it make you feel once you think it over? No, that's just BS. You're going to get walked all over. They're not going to look at you as credible as an expert who's going to solve their problems by doing that. We have to act even more skeptical when they say things like that. There's a big difference there.
Yeah, absolutely. What is it that I guess, like, because obviously you developed an NEPQ.
Yeah.
And was neutrality, like, where was neutrality in terms of like, I guess like the implementation or the creation of it? Was it relatively early in the process, or was it more of like a later thing? Or
it was really early in the process because I was 21, my first sales job, got hired selling security systems door to door. And they had us read these books by, a very popular sales trainer, probably 20 years ago, 20, 30, 40 years ago. His name was Tom Hopkins. He's still around. I think he does some sales training, but 20, 30 years ago, he was a big sales trainer. Okay. He had sold real estate and he was very assumptive, very assertive. Okay. And so that's how they wrote out their scripts. And when you knock on the door and you were overly assumptive, like just acting like they were going to buy from the first word you said, especially when we were selling to, let's say, more sophisticated people that had nicer homes, bigger homes, had more money, it turned people off like in the first 5 seconds. Okay.
when you say assumptive, like, can you give me an example?
Let's say I'm going to the end of the presentation. I haven't asked them what their thoughts are. I haven't asked them, do they feel like it's the answer? I haven't asked them anything like that. And I just get to the end of the presentation and I say, do you want the contract's name in your name or your husband's name?
Okay, so like the double bind.
It's just like I assume that they even want it without even asking them if they even feel it's what they're looking for. Do they feel like it's going to get them where they want to be? It's like I'm just assuming right in from everything I say that they're buying no matter what. Now, so if you're selling a $5 magazine subscription, that's one thing. But if you're selling products that, 500,000, 5,000, 50,000, 100,000, 10 million, completely other. And so that's what I mean when I started to learn from behavioral science in college from my professors and these events that I was going to about how the human brain makes decisions and how our brains, really what happened is I started to learn what causes a human brain to react and go into fight or flight mode compared to what calms down a mind. And so that's where I'm like, wait a minute, if I'm like excited and that's going to trigger them to react in like, oh, salesman, how do I get away? How do I get rid of them? I probably shouldn't be excited. I need to be more relaxed. I need to be more calm because in behavioral science, it was teaching that you need to be calm. You need to be relaxed. Now, it was all theory, right? There wasn't like, you need to ask situation questions here and here's the right tonality and here's your problem awareness questions. That's all came from me. They taught theory and I'm like, how do I take the theory of not getting the prospect to trigger sales resistance, not getting them in fight or flight mode when I first start talking to them? How do I get them to calm down and relax where they want to open up and engage me? And that's where I started developing those questions. But the theory came from what I was learning from behavioral science. That's how I started to learn very quickly because I was getting a lot of doors slammed in my face that if I was over assertive or excited or talked fast, that was going to trigger fight or flight mode. Because remember, we talk about this all the time in our training. Within the first really 7 to 10 seconds of any conversation you have, okay, whether that's in person with the prospect, whether that's over Zoom, whether that's over the phone, doesn't matter. Your prospects are picking up on cues, verbal cues, okay, what you're saying, and nonverbal cues, your body language, depending on, if you're over the phone or they can see you, that trigger their brain to react in one of two ways. If you don't know the right body language, if you don't know the right tonality, if you don't know the right things to say or ask, it triggers what we just talked about, fight or flight mode with most prospects where they're trying to get rid of you. So if you're getting a lot of people in the beginning of your conversations like, I'm too busy. Can you tell me how much it costs? Can you tell me what it is? Call me back later. We don't need it. Your price is too high. And you're getting a lot of resistance up front. You're triggering that by what you're saying.
I find like most people, that's exactly how they're taught to sell, especially who are taught to do outreach.
Yeah, 100%.
I recently started training a buyer's agent in Australia. Real estate's a little bit different in Australia. Yeah. Agents that act on behalf of buyers are not technically real estate agents. They're a totally separate entity and they're paid for, the buyer pays their fees.
Okay.
Right? So it's totally separate. And essentially the way they get leads is people register for open homes. And then the open home people sell the leads to buyer's agents. So they cold call these people, but I'm training this guy and he's like, oh my goodness, this is so different than everything I've been taught. And within a week, he literally became like the guy.
Like the number one guy.
Yeah. Like he just changed the script and it was like, oh, this is easy. I'm like, hey man, it's not
This is
too hard.
easy. Everybody wants me to sell for them. Yeah, exactly. It's different.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
you know,
right.
I was doing a training call a couple hours ago for our 3.0 clients. It's a weekly Q&A call that I'm responsible for, that I do for those type of clients. And this new person just enrolled like 2 days ago. And he's like, hey, it's great to be here. I really haven't gone through any of the training yet. I just enrolled 2 days ago, which is fine. I mean, I don't expect him to go through much training in 2 days or whatever. But he's like, you know, the reason why I join is I always get resistance when I do these calls. And he's like, I don't understand it because these people book on my calendar and they're inbound calls. And I think he sells like Amazon training or something to help people start their own business or whatever. Like, and they use Amazon as like a way to make more money or have more time or whatever, right? We train a lot of companies and people in that space. And so he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I haven't gone through the training yet. And I'm just triggering so much resistance. And I'm like, well, hey, why don't you role play? And everybody was on that call, okay? And they're like watching, you know, and the guy was like, how you doing today, Jeremy? My name is Miguel Herrera or whatever his name was. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. He's like, yeah, I'm doing pretty good out here too. Where do you live, Jeremy? What state do you live in? So just making stuff up. I live in Texas. Yeah, I really love Texas. My mom's from Texas. Have you ever thought about moving somewhere else, like out of the heat? Or do you really like Texas?
Ugh, why?
Yeah, I mean, I like Texas. It's pretty good. And he's like, yeah. I definitely like that. How's the weather out there? Is it pretty hot? And like the first 5 minutes, he's just talking about nothing. And I'm like, stop the call.
Why?
What you did there triggers resistance almost every single time. They always tell me like, hey, can you just tell me what you have? Or like, how much is this going to cost? I'm like, you're triggering sales resistance because
you're like prototype sales.
Every prospect you talk to knows that you are not genuinely interested where they live or where they really want to live or how the weather is where they live. They know you're not interested in that. They know it's a sales call. So when you say everything that every other salesperson ever says to them on a sales call, what do you think they're going to do? It's automatically triggering self-defense mode. And they go into like not opening up, telling you to get to the point and what your price points are. You're triggering that by what you're saying.
I think because a lot of people go in and they talk about building rapport, right? And I think building rapport, it's not that it's not important, but it's like you don't build rapport by chit-chatting.
You don't.
Like, you just don't. You build rapport by having a genuine conversation with someone. Like, you don't build rapport with the guy at the bus stop next to you that you're just, you know what I mean? You have the same rapport if you don't talk to him.
You build rapport in a sales call by the questions you ask your prospect that triggers them to want to engage, to actually want to open up to you because they view you as someone important, the expert, the trusted authority. That's how you build rapport. You don't sit there for the first 2 or 3 minutes talking about the weather and where they live and what they like and who won the game last night because they know that's not genuine. It triggers resistance automatically.
My sales calls are, hey man, how can I help you? That's the opening of my sales call pretty much every time. Hey man, how can I help you? I have no interest in anything.
Yeah. So, and then he gets on and we go through that whole mirage of like, and okay, I'm like, all right, what do you do next? He's like, all right, then I've got to frame them up. He's like, all right, so really this call is more for me to kind of see where you're at now, you know, to see if really, you know, we're really a good fit for each other. And if we're really a good fit, then at the end, I'll kind of go through the different options. Is that okay? And I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, okay, number one, no, don't ever say really to see if you're a good fit for us and we're a good fit for you because no one believes that. I'm like, you're telling me at the end of the call, if you, the salesperson says, you know what, at the end of the call, that prospect says, here's my credit card. Your services cost $100,000. And at the end of that, you're going to say, you're not a good fit for us. Really?
Yeah.
Do you think any prospect believes that you're going to turn down money? Stop the bullshit. No, but I hate that word a fit. Like everybody is saying that it's like a consultative sales word, but because everybody
says this is a strategy call. Is it? Is it really?
Is it really a strategy call? Yeah. Because everybody says that, you sound like everybody else. So they immediately put you over in the corner with all the other salespeople and they commoditize you because they view you the same. Okay.
Exactly.
Reframe your stuff. I would say the first part of this call is really more for us to find out more about kind of your background as far as what you've done in business in the past. And I would say really what you're looking for to see if we could actually help you. Now, I was curious, when you went through the ad where you saw, you know, X, Y, and Z, what was it about the ad that attracted your attention? And boom, you're right there. You can friend about trying to find out to see if you can help them Don't frame it like at the end of the call, if we feel it's a good fit and you're a good fit for us, we'll go through a presentation. Nobody believes that. It just triggers more resistance. And even if they stay on the call, you know what's going to happen when you ask any questions? They're not going to open up. They're just going to
because they know you're a salesperson.
Exactly. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah. So I think like the key for me is like, if it's in the salesperson 101 handbook, I'm probably not going to do it, because I want someone to be honestly open up to me in a way that they probably haven't opened up to other people. And people will be surprised. Like it's really easy. And in most, like it's much easier than what you might think. And it's much more common, regardless of the type of sale, that you can really kind of open someone up and then attach a really serious solution, like what they actually want, to them, and then future pace that out and then take it away with consequence. And like, in order to have that conversation, which is the one that I need to actually make the sale, I can't be perceived as a salesperson. I feel like, oh, this is like the kiss of death with sales is like, man, you're a really good sales guy.
That is the worst words you ever want to hear from a prospect, because nobody of those people that said that ever bought from you, did they?
No one. And it's just like, crap, because that means that every single question that I'm asking you, you are perceiving through the lens that I'm a sales guy. It's like someone trying to pick you up at a bar. Like, you know, I'm sure that if there's any girls out there listening, it's like, you know, you're having an innocent chat with a guy and then all of a sudden you realize he's trying to pick you up. You know,
you shut down automatically, right?
This guy's not as interested in me as I thought. He just, you know, wants to hook up with me. So same thing, right? You've really got to maintain that neutrality. And I think that neutrality is a sort of detachedness from the outcomes.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, I'm not too fussed if you buy either way. Obviously, I want you to buy, but I'm not like attached to that outcome, because at the end of the day,
this is what you want to come across as. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like, to be perfectly honest, as long as I do my process, I'm pretty happy either way. I would like you to buy, but my process will work. Let's say it works 70% of the time.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't buy, you're just one of the 3 of 10 that we're never going to anyway. Right? Like,
100%. So it's just like, you know, we're training a large solar company now, right? And so they're calling leads and setting up appointments. And basically we put in their sales structure, you know, when they're about to set up the appointment, we tell them to say this. Now, I just want to be frank with you. There are some homes that once we, you know, come out to, you know, to find out more about what's going on and to see if we can help you, there are some homes we just can't help. So I just want to be upfront with you on that and make you aware that there are some homeowners that we're not able to help. Now, more than likely we can, but there are some people we can't help with this process. And that does what?
Well, it makes you seem like you're not selling anything. It makes you seem like you're just seeing if you can help.
You're seeing if you can help, because there are some people you can't, right? Now, you're not saying half the homeowners we can't help, you know, 37% we can't help. You just leave it vague. Some homeowners we can't help. And so that causes them to view you as not as biased, right? If you're like, we can help you 100% for sure, we know we're going to be able to solve the problem, it just shows that you're biased. And anything you say, they're going to take as a grain of salt, because they know you're just trying to make a sale to make a commission. Okay. Yeah. They don't feel like you're there to help.
I think one of the ways you can tell if you're doing this wrong is if you get a lot of trust objections.
Yeah.
So I think if you're someone who gets a lot of, hey, can you send me some testimonials? Can you send me to your clients? Or do you have any guarantees? I literally don't remember the last time I actually heard that objection in a sales call.
I don't think I've ever heard the references one.
I don't. I mean, people ask me all the time how to handle it. And I go, listen, this is how I would handle it. I never get it. I haven't gotten it for a long time. It's a problem. It's a symptom of a problem, which is that the person doesn't trust you. And they don't trust the process. So like, you can get good at tactically handling that, but it's a ridiculous objection on the face of it. It's like, all right, cool. Here are the numbers of my 5 most successful clients of all time. Here you go. Do you want to speak to them? No. Okay. You're looking for a way in or a way out, brother. Which one is it? Right. And then we can have the chat, you know, but like, it's ridiculous. It's like, of course I'm only going to send you to the most successful people I have.
It makes no objection, because they don't trust what you've said to them is really going to happen. That's the only reason why you would get somebody that says, can you send me some references? Can I view some testimonials? That's why you're getting this objection. They don't trust you because you haven't learned how to ask the right questions that allows them to bond and trust with you. It allows them to open up emotionally. That's why they don't trust you.
Exactly. So if that's happening to you, what I want you to do is join the Sales Revolution Facebook group. Go on to Facebook, join Sales Revolution. And then from there, what we'll do is we'll give you some free resources, just some free stuff just for joining the group. And then we do a whole lot of free training there. Jeremy goes live all the time. Hopefully we can help you reduce some of the resistance that you're getting in your sales calls.
That's a good point. Now, if you do get that objection, because we, in our virtual training courses, we train all of that, right? We even have certain section of it that's only on, preventing objections. But if you do get one of those objections while you're learning the process to prevent them, you still get it here and there, we show you to do that. So if somebody says, can you send me some references? Yeah, that's not a problem. Just so I know who best to send over to you, what would you like to talk about with them when you get on the phone? Now, why do I want to ask that? Because then they're going to say, well, I want to talk about them about this because I'm not quite sure about this. And then they're going to give you the real objection. So it's an easy question you can ask. Yeah, that's not a problem. I can send over some references to you just so I know who best to send you. What would you like to discuss with them when you talk to them on the phone? Oh, I'd like to talk to them about this and about that. Well, most of the time they're going to tell you what their concern is with whatever they say there. Okay. And then at that point, then you want to position it better. You don't want to just send them references, because if you just send them references, they'll never get back with you. They're gone.
You'll never see them again.
Never see them again ever. Like, oh, I hope they called up references and call me back. No, they'll just keep asking you for more and more references if you ever hear from them again, or they'll just never call you back.
That guy wasn't quite in my market or my industry. He was a different age, shape, or gender to me. I feel like it's not really comparable. Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather speak with somebody that's blonde. His hair was brown and his nose was too big. And, I'm only 27 and he was 36. I'd rather speak to somebody. You're just going to
get that. That's exactly what it'll be, because that person is trying to essentially what you want to, from a problem solving standpoint, that person is externalizing the responsibility of making a decision.
Yep, 100%. So you got to get the real objection out of them. And then when they say, oh, I want to go over this and I go over that. Okay, well, what I can do is I can reach out to some of our clients just to see if I'd be available just to see if they'd be available for you. So that positions it a little bit better. And then you say at the end of that, you say, now, let's say that you call our clients and, you talk to them and they talk to you about the problems, some of the same problems that you have that we've solved for them. After you talk to them, where do you think we should go from there? Now, if you don't get
it's an interesting question.
If you don't get a commitment where they say, oh, we would do business with you, then they're just stalling, or they've got some other major concern. If they're like, oh, we would do business with you for sure. And then you set up another time, like in a day or two after they talk to these people, and you have like a booked appointment, not just call me back in a week or two, because you'll never hear them back. Okay. If they say, well, we'd have to see let's say if you sold B2B and they came back and you said that. So let's say that you talk to our clients and they go over the problems that we've solved, similar problems that you've had and how we solved them and help them get where they want to go. At that point, where do you think we should go from there? Now, if they come back and say, well, I'd have to see if we'd have the budget for this, or, well, maybe we'd fly you out and do a demo, or, I don't know, we'd have to then kind of meet as a company and just, talk with the CEO to see if it's something we're looking for. If you get any of that, you got to remove those obstacles or you're just wasting your time. The only response you want to hear is, we would definitely do business with you. And that, is when you can do that 100%.
Absolutely. All righty. Well, I think that was good. We went a bit over time, but
that was good. That was good. Yeah. So like Matt said, if you want to get more tips, training, anything like that, you want to learn how to sell like a sales professional and stop getting smacked across the face. Or if you're a business owner and you're like, why in the hell are my salespeople not hitting their quota every single month? Why are we having good months and then bad months and good months and bad months? Or let's say that you're an already established company that's kind of going like this, but you want to go like this. Join the Sales Revolution group, whatever industry you're in, doesn't matter, between hundreds of different industries. We've got a link here, Sales Revolution. Click on that. There'll be a couple of survey questions that we'll ask you so we know what industry you're in, what type of training you're looking for. And right when you join, somebody on our team is going to tag you. And we're going to, in the Facebook group, look for that tag, and we're going to send over a free 40-minute training on objection prevention. Like, how do you prevent objections from even happening in your prospect's mind? Matt, stay safe out there in Australia in the lockdowns. We're over here in the U.S. office, just maskless out here, just living it up.
You guys are freedoming so hard right now.
We gotta move the Sydney office over to the Arizona office. That's all I got to say.
Right, the Arizona office, that's actually a discussion that we have to have pretty soon, because we got to find a space.
I think so. All right. Enjoy
Yeah.
yourself, everybody. Thanks for being on. We'll see you next week.
Fantastic. Have a good day, guys. Bye.
Hey guys, if you enjoy these, here's another you can watch right over here, right over here. Join our free Sales Revolution group. Click the link below, join us, and we're gonna help you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you real soon.